Hello everyone. So this is a video, actually this is a deck of a commander I have been building for almost a year. I tried to keep it as low as possible. It's around 52, 53 dollars I believe. And I think it's time I would show you what I was building and playing for almost a year. So it's of course black and white. And it's Obzedat Ghost Council. And of course don't worry about the glare of the sleeves, because I'm gonna minimize this screen over here, and then I'm gonna add the actual cards so you can see them. So this guy, it's 2 black and 2 white, and 1, it's a 5/5 legendary creature of course, and when he enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And the main purpose of this deck is, one of the main purposes is, where are they? Enchantments. There we go. Just a second. Yeah, as you can see, I'm being really professional here. Yeah, I'm well prepared. So this is the card I built around the deck, Sanguine Bond. So whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So you might say, yeah, 2 life, it's not that much, but yeah, just hang on with me. And at the beginning of your end step, you may exile this guy. He goes into his own exile, and if you do, return into the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your next upkeep, and he gains haste. So you keep adding 2 and 2 and 2 to someone that keeps losing life. And on top of that, we have Mind Crank. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So you are also milling them, not only reducing their life, but also milling them. Anyways, let's get the lands out of the way. So we have 14 plains, we have 14 swamps, and then we have Scoured Barrens. Yeah, it's a tap land, because as I said before, I tried to keep it on a budget. So yep, we have Scoured Barrens, Reliquary Tower of course for no maximum hand size, Piranha Mars, you know, for the maximum 1 life effect, also Basilica, that gives us 2, Mortuary Mire, for that, come on, you know, graveyard effect, and Forsaken Sanctuary. Those are the land cards, unless I missed one. Right, so moving on. Let's go to instance. Let's see. We have Riot Control, and you gain 1 life for each creature your opponent control. Prevent all damage, so you gain life for each creature, 1 life, and it's also a fog. That's pretty sweet, so combine that with those two, you know. Then we have Sanguine Sacrament, and you gain twice X life, where X is, you know, how much you're gonna pay, and then you put it on the bottom of your library. So again, life loss, milling. Pillar of Light, you know, you get to exile something big your opponent has. The classic Hero's Downfall, for those pesky planeswalkers. Then we have False Cure. Imagine doing that. Imagine playing Riot Control, then playing Sanguine, and on top of that, until end of turn, whenever a player gains life, that player loses 2 life for each 1 life he or she gains. So if you had not Sanguine Bond, but the other one. What's it called? Exquisite Blood, I think. Yep, maximum damage. Of course, I don't have it because it will go infinite, and I'm not playing with infinite. And you know the all-time classic Dark Ritual because it helps a lot. And if they have Shroud or whatever, and they have one big creature and they swing at you, well, then you target the player and you make them sacrifice it. So, moving on to enchantments. You already saw Sanguine Bone, so Blanket of Night. Come on. This is a bit of mana fixing because it also makes your planes produce black mana. So, yeah, you know, mana fixing. Another mana fixer, Black Market. And it's very easy for black to kill creatures and put counters, so Death Words. You get to enchant a creature with this one, and when it dies, the creature's controller loses life and you gain life. And you gain equal to its power. No. Its controller loses an amount of life equal to its power and you gain an amount of life equal to its toughness. So, again, the combo, you know, the classic one. Enslave, you get to get a creature from your opponent. Yeah, that pisses people off. All Gift of Immortality, you get to have a creature around for quite some time. Unless someone exiles it, of course. Pulling Venom, you know, that's land hate. You know, Maze of Ith, another pesky land, or Blood Moon, or whatever. Snake Alternate Initiation. Yeah, I also forgot to mention that I have Infect in this deck. So you get to enchant a creature, and you give it 3 Infect. And Scream from Within. So this is a very interesting card. Imagine playing with someone that is playing Edgar, last year's commander, you know, and he's spewing out 1/1 vampires. So if you attach this one to a vampire in any 1/1 creature, it dies. And when the creature dies, this card comes back on the battlefield. And it keeps doing that until it sticks on a creature. And if there is no target, then it goes to the graveyard. So it's very useful for token engines. And Relic Putrescence. That's a bit of Sol Ring hate, because whenever someone taps it, he gets a poison counter. How convenient. So he either doesn't play or doesn't tap it, or, you know, gets a poison counter. Of course, removal, classic Vindicate. Morningtide, a bit of graveyard hate, sorry. So yeah, all cards in all graveyards. And some life gain shenanigans. This is like dealing double damage. Yeah, it's a decent, nice card. Another removal, and also with any, you know, equipment that goes along with it. Now this is the best Gravedigger. Disturbed Burial, it's 2 and 3/4, so maximum 5, and it has buyback. So this means that you get to get a creature and get this card in your hand at the same time. So yeah, of course, tutor for, you know, either the Sanguine or Mindcrank, and is the cheapest one. So now that's a really interesting card. Debt to the Deathless. Each opponent loses 2 times X life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. Of course, another tutoring, and it's actually this one is a tutor and a oh my god, dark creature. Yeah, at the same time, so very useful. Archangel's Light. You gain 2 life for each card in your graveyard, and then you get to shuffle your graveyard into your library. So not only you get life if someone is milling you, and you get to, you know, have a chance against him. Now this is very funny. This is a really interesting card. So if someone is playing with Proliferate or has a bunch of Planeswalkers down, you just play this. Remove all counters from all permanents and remove all tokens from the game. So it's like a Swiss Army knife. You remove all counters. So Planeswalkers go bye-bye. You know, Proliferate goes bye-bye. Minus counters, plus counters, you get to remove all tokens. So yeah. And then we go to equipment. And we have Quietus Spike, of course. The creature is equipped, it has death touch, but whenever equipped, creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half of his or her life rounded up. Yeah, that's really useful. The classic Whip of Erebus, of course, so your creatures can have lifelink, you know, the usual shenanigans. Spear of Heliod, +1 to your creatures and then destroy whoever dealt damage to you. Soul Conduit. 2 target players exchange life totals. So if I have this down, and let's say I am at 10 life and my opponent is at 20 life, so I switch my life with my opponent's life, I automatically gain 10 life and he loses 10 life. So I gained 10 life, so this triggers and he's dead. It's that simple. Of course, yeah, you know, the classic Soul Ring. Now that's an interesting one, Phyrexian Splicer. For 2 and tap, you get to choose Flying, First Strike, Trample or Shadow, and you switch those abilities from one creature to another. So if one of your opponents has a flyer and you have a ground soldier, let's say soldier, you know, you tap this and you get your opponent's flying ability and give it to your creature and you attack with it. So yeah, a Signet, of course yours of Signet, a Kirun. Oh yeah, you know, if someone is playing with artifacts and you even get to blow your own stuff up, so that's a must have. Mercadian Atlas, it's 5, but at the end of your turn, if you didn't play a land this turn, you may draw a card. So yeah, card draw, Isolation Cell. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, that player loses 2 life unless he or she pays 2. Of course, Fellwar Stone and Ballast Cage. So for 3, you get to tap a creature and that creature does not untap in its controller untap phase. So that's really convenient and annoying at the same time. So alright, so now let's move on to creatures. So we have Bloodcursed Knight. It's a vampire knight, and as long as you control an enchantment, this deck has plenty, it gets +1 and has lifelink. Then we have Archfiend of Depravity, and of course it has flying, and at the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures he or she controls, then sacrifices the rest. So you're kind of controlling people. Whispering Spectre. It's only a 1/1, but it's a flyer with Infect, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do that, players discard a card for each poison counter he has. So yeah, that's, you know, if they're going to remove it, no. Actually, yeah, it has to deal combat damage, but you know, you can make them discard their hand. Vampire Nighthawk, flying and death touch and lifelink, so there you have it. Treasure Hunter, in case someone destroys your artifact, you can bring it back. Subjugator Angel, when it enters the battlefield, you can tap all creatures your opponents control, so you can swing in for whatever you have on the field at the moment. Soul Cage Fiend, when it dies, its player loses 3 life. Soul Collector, that's an interesting one. It has morph and flying, and whenever a creature dealt damage by Soul Collector dies, and it's put into a graveyard, you get to bring it back on the battlefield under your control, so that's very interesting. Sentry of the Underworld, it has flying vigilance and regenerate, another useful creature. Reaper of Sheoldred, of course it has infect, and whenever a source deals damage to Reaper, that source's controller gets a poison counter, so if someone attacks you and you block, that creature deals damage, so you know, he gets a poison counter. Wrathy Trapper, you get to tap target creature. Polluted Dead, another, you know, land hate. When it dies, destroy target land. Why not? Odric, that's a really useful card in this deck because at the beginning of its combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature you control has first strike. For example, if I have a lifelink creature, every creature I have has lifelink. And the same is for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So if you have a creature with one ability, every other creature gets it as long as you have Odric on the field. Monk Realist. When it comes into play, destroy target enchantment. That's it. That's all you need to do. Mindbearer, you get to sacrifice him and destroy target attacking creature. Why not? If it's a biggie, you know. Lotus Eye Mystics, of course, when it enters the battlefield, return target enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. So if you get someone removes your bond, your Sanguine bond, you get to bring it back. Of course, my previous commander, I used to run the deck with this guy, and then, you know, he's a lot better. So whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Ironclad Slayer, you may return target aura or equipment from your graveyard to your hand. Another useful one. Imposing Sovereign, creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. So the old classic Grey Merchant, and when he enters the battlefield, its opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and of course you gain life equal to the life lost this way, so that's an instant player removal with this one, and then you get to mill someone else, or no, you get to mill everyone. So yeah. Oh yeah, Filth. That's the name of the deck. I named this deck Filth because it has, you know, a lot of things that people don't like in it. So what does Filth do? Filth is a creature and it has Swamp Walk, and when it dies, and as long as it's in your graveyard and you control a swamp, of course, all your other creatures gain Swamp Walk. It's that simple. Falkenrath Noble, whenever another creature dies, or the noble dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And corpse cur, or whatever it's called, it has infect. Nothing else. And I think, yeah, you may return target creature card with infect from your graveyard to your hand. So yeah, there are a few infect creatures in there. So yeah, that's the deck. So in this year I have been building it. I battled many uh, different decks. I lost many games. I won many games. But yeah, it has creatures, no, not creatures, cards in it that go against many strategies. So yeah, well, if you build this deck, let me know. Also let me know how you find it. I know there are a lot better cards that you could put in this deck, but yeah, budget. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you ideas on what to build if you wanted to build with Bond or Mindcrank or this guy, you know. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I will see you on the next one.